Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to The Seasoned Vegan. Today, since it is fall officially, I'm going to be showing you how to make an apple pie, homemade apple pie. Can't get better than that. And this is a really good framework because you can pretty much do this with any fruit. You can make a berry pie, a peach pie, but since it's fall, we're going to do apple. So let's get started with the pie dough ingredients. For this, you need flour, sugar, salt, ice water, and some very cold butter. I recommend leaving your butter in your fridge or your freezer for about 30 minutes before you get going. You want it to be hard as rock. There we go. Okay, so that's for the dough. And then here are the ingredients for the apple filling. We're going to be using 5 apples. I recommend anywhere from like 5 to 7, maybe even 8 if you like a really, really full pie. We have some sugar here, some vanilla extract, a lemon, some flour, some more butter, and some cinnamon. Okay, so that's the filling right there. Now I will show you step by step how we make it all come together. So the first step is to mix our dry ingredients. And for pies or some baked goods, other baked goods, I like to sift out my flour because I think it just gives me a better consistency when it comes to my dough. So that's first. I'm just sifting my flour. That is optional. You don't have to, but this is just how I prefer to do it. So there we go. Bada boom, bada bang. I just sift it all up. And then we're going to add the rest of the dry ingredients straight into here. So there we go. That was quite a lot of flour. And all the ingredients, all the measurements, they're going to be in the description so that you can make this too. Obviously, you can go ahead and get yourself a pre-made pie dough from the store, but I think it's pretty good for everyone to know how to make a pie by hand. It makes you feel good knowing how to make it, I think, at least. So here we go. I added in my sugar and my salts, gave it a very good mix, and now we're going to move on to step number 2, which is blending our ingredients, our dry ingredients, and our cold butter together. Now, I would be using a stand mixer if I had one. That would work like 10 times better. So if you have a stand mixer, I highly recommend using that with an S-hook. And if you don't have a stand mixer, you could use your blender like I'm doing. We're just making it work in this situation. You could also use what are they called? The handheld mixer. But I just think I get better results with my blender rather than the handheld mixer. I also did try to do this by hand and it was a complete fail. I mean, like complete fail. The dough just would not come together. So maybe if you had more elbow grease than me, you could make it work by hand, but I've just found easiest way for me to do it until I get my stand mixer is to use my blender. So I just go ahead and I put my cold butter straight in with my dry ingredients and I just pulsed it. Pulse until I get kind of like a crumbly like this, that type of mixture. And then once you're there, what you want to do is you want to pour it into a bowl and then add your ice water. And you want to make sure you're using very, very cold ice water. So you're just going to kind of like sprinkle that right over, and that's going to help everything come together. So at this point, I kind of just, work that cold water in, and then I'm going to tip it onto a clean baking mat, and I'm going to get it all shaped with my hands. Now, I do want to let you know you don't want to use your hands too much because the warmth from your body will cause that butter to melt. So just keep that in mind. Use your hands as little as possible, and you should be good to go. So here we go. What I'm going to do is just pour out my mixture right onto this. I am getting it nice and floured, my surface beforehand, so nothing sticks. But here we go. I'm just pouring it out, and I'm going to just really quickly try and form it into a ball. And the ice water is going to help it come together so much. That's why we add the ice water at this stage, so that when it comes together, it's pretty easy. Because as you can tell, it's pretty like crumbly. And so you look at it and you think like, how the hell is that going to come together? But trust me, just kind of squeeze and press. And don't work it too much. Don't think to yourself, oh, it's too crumbly, I need to work it more. No, baking, let me tell you, baking is about precision and faith. It's really interesting. You have to don't second guess yourself. Just kind of go for it. Yeah. And follow the directions when it comes to baking to a T. With cooking, let me tell you, you can be a lot more kind of creative and go with the flow. But when it comes to baking, you're precise and you trust the process, okay? So just trust the process and it'll be a lot of fun. You'll get what you need. And you know what, guys? If you fail, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Not everything we try in life we're going to be successful at, and we're sure as hell not going to be successful at it the first time. Sometimes we are, but typically we're not, and that's okay. Failure is a necessary part of life that allows us to learn and grow and make appropriate changes. So I just wanted to share that because I obviously told you guys that I failed at my first apple pie attempt. And I was pretty upset for a little bit, but then I realized, you know what? Now I know exactly what not to do and what to do. So here's my dough ball. I wrapped it up in some plastic wrap, and now I'm taking it to the fridge because I don't want it to melt. I want it to stay pretty chilled until I'm ready to use it. Look at my freaking finger. I need a camera person, honestly. Okay, so while it's chilling in the fridge, our dough, we are going to be getting our filling ready. And this is the easiest part of the recipe. I'd say that the dough is the most challenging. So we know what to do here. We're just going to first peel and then dice up our apple. So here we go. And like I said, I'm using 5, but I recommend 6 to 8, truly, actually. 6 to 8 would be better. I think more filling in a pie is always better. So here we go. When I cut up my apples for apple pies, I like them to be small pieces, just like that. Nice diced pieces. You can go chunkier, smaller, whatever your preference is. That's just how I like mine. So let me get all these chopped up and then we'll continue on with the rest of the filling. All right, the next step is going to be juicing our lemon. Very, very simple. Not much to say about this. Just go ahead and juice your lemon, whichever way you see fit. And I do recommend the whole lemon. If you're using a fresh lemon, just use the whole lemon. I think I just used half, but I should have used the whole one. All right, step number 7. We're going to get everything cooking in a pot, everything related to the apple filling, that is. So I start off with some butter, my apples, my cinnamon, my lemon juice, some sugar, and my, what is it called? Oh yeah, vanilla extract. That's going to all go in first. There goes the lemon juice. And what we're going to do is stir it up real nice. Get everything pretty much combined, and then we're gonna just let it cook down, let all the juices kind of cook down out of these apples, and it's gonna kind of start bubbling and smelling absolutely divine, smelling so good in your house. Anyway, so here goes in my sugar. So yeah, like I said, we're just gonna cook this down until it starts to get nice and juicy, until it starts to bubble. And then we're going to add in our flour, and that flour is going to just help everything kind of come together and be incredibly delicious. It's going to create a perfect filling for us. And I recommend putting in your butter first. I put my apples in first, and then I had to shove the butter down there so that it would melt. It all worked out in the end, but that's just a tip for you. Learn from my mistakes. All right, next step is our 10-minute cooking process. So once it's been cooking for 10 minutes, like you can see here, it's going to start to bubble. And at that point, you're going to want to put in your flour. And that flour is just going to help soak up all that moisture and bring everything together. So when I mix in the flour here, you're going to see that it starts to look a lot less liquidy. And it's absolutely delicious. There we go. See what that flour does? It just helps it all come together. Perfecto. That looks so good. Absolutely delicious filling. You could also add nutmeg to this too if you're into that. I think a little bit of cinnamon is all it needs, but I've never done nutmeg, so you could do that. Let me know how it is. So once the flour is all cooked in, you're going to want to take it off the heat. Bada boom, bada bang. And all that liquid is pretty much gone. That is perfect right there. Perfect. Okay, so now that the filling is done, we're just going to let it sit here while we preheat the oven and roll out the dough. Okay, so the oven's going to be set to 425. And I retrieved this dough from the fridge. I almost said oven. Oops. I retrieved it from the fridge. And since we're going to be using this dough ball for both the top and the bottom, we need to cut it in half. So we're going to cut it right down the middle, and I will show you how to roll it out. Now this is probably the most tedious part of the entire recipe, rolling out dough. But it's very, very satisfying, and you just have to trust yourself, okay? So when you cut it in half, go ahead and put the other half back in the fridge, because you don't know how long this rolling out process is going to take, and you don't want it to, to come to room temperature. You want it to stay chilled. So I go ahead and I put a whole bunch of flour on my rolling pin and on my dough ball. And let me kind of move the camera a little bit so you guys can get a better view. Here we go. So then a good tip for rolling out dough is to use a very, very firm pressure on your rolling pin. Really press it down and use your weight to really roll everything out. And what you're looking for is like a smooth looking dough. And you want it to be as thin as you can get it and as circular as you can get it. And it's going to take some finagling. You're going to have to kind of, I use you're going to have to cut off some dough and move it around, if that makes sense. It's kind of like a patchwork situation. So, just make it work. And it's not going to be perfect on your first try, okay? Just be patient with yourself, trust the process, keep rolling, keep moving and grooving. You got this. So that's what you're looking for. Oh, and if your rolling pin starts to stick to the dough, add more flour, okay? The flour is your friend. It's there to help you. Also, the harder that you press with your rolling pin, the less likely your rolling pin is to stick to the dough. I remember when I started making pies, it would always get stuck to the rolling pin. I was just doing everything wrong, let me tell you. Let me be honest here. I was doing everything wrong. So I'm giving you these tips so that it's easier on you. Okay, and I'm just taking my pan, making sure that it's the right size, and I was pretty happy with it. So now I'm going to move into my top piece. I just set aside the bottom piece, and now I'm working on the top one. And it might look kind of crumbly to you, but that's what it's supposed to look like. So just keep moving and grooving, keep trusting the process. Okay. The harder you press, the more it will come together. And if you have to kind of like reset everything, push things back together, it's fine. It's all going to come together in the end, and it's all going to be absolutely delicious. Also, my top piece was not as pretty as I would have liked it to be, but you know what? It tasted delicious, and it was better than my first one. So that's really what matters. As long as you're getting better with each repetition, as long as you're learning something new, as long as you're happy with the way it tastes in the end, who cares what it looks like, right? It's not like I'm making this to sell to anybody. I'm just making it to enjoy and to teach you guys. So, yeah. Don't have too high of expectations for yourself. Also, I was realizing it would be really, really fun, especially if you didn't have enough dough to make a full top, you could also cut rectangular strips from your dough and kind of do like a lattice type design on the top. You can get really creative with how you design your top dough, actually. So yeah, just get creative, get playful with it. And yeah, enjoy yourself. Put on some good music or a good movie and just get into it. Have a good time. So we're about done with this top piece, and then I'm going to show you guys how I assemble it all. This top piece was a little bit more crumbly, but I made it work. But you're going to see at the end, it definitely has like a rustic homemade look to it. But it was so tasty. It really was. So here we go. This is coming together nicely. We are just rolling. And yeah, you want it to be as smooth looking as possible. So just keep on rolling it out until you're satisfied. Okay, so now I want to show you guys how to assemble the pie. So lifting it up is always a very tricky thing to do, but don't worry about it breaking, none of that, because when it goes into the pan, you are able to kind of like fix any cracks and hide any blemishes. So if it cracks, don't worry. I know some people like to kind of roll it on the rolling pan and then place the dough like in the pan that way. I have never had luck trying to get it on my rolling pan, so I just use my little, what is it called? My dough cutter there, and try and get a hold of it, an even hold on it from the bottom, and then I transfer it into the pan. But that's probably the most like nerve-wracking part, is trying to like lift the uncooked dough up and put it like nicely on the pan. But, make it happen, people. Make it happen. So here we go. We've got it in. That looks pretty good. Now we can add in our filling. Also, another tip, you could pre-bake your bottom pan or your bottom dough a little bit. You would just put it in the oven for about 5 minutes, then take it out and add in your filling. And that way you can ensure that bottom layer of dough cooks really well, because you are adding all of this apple filling with its moisture, and it could slow down the cooking process. The top is going to be a little bit more done than the bottom one based on all that moisture. So if you wanted to mitigate that, you could put the bottom dough in for about 5 minutes into the oven, and then take it out, put the other filling and then the other dough on top, and cook it for the last like 35-40 minutes. Totally up to you. I think I might do that the next time I do it though. Just a quick bake for the bottom piece of dough. So here the top dough goes on, and as you can see, mine is more of a oval shape rather than a circle. So I'm having to kind of, patchwork, and this is what made my pie look less than perfect. But you know what? I'm not after perfection here. I used to be a perfectionist, and you know what? That stopped me a lot in life, being a perfectionist. It stopped me because I was worried about failing. I was worried about things looking ugly. If it's not perfect, why should I do it? Ray. And that's just a lousy way to be, I think. Like, yes, it's nice to really spend your time and make something beautiful, but don't chuck everything if it's not as beautiful as you want it to be, or don't think that you're any less than because it's not as beautiful as you want it to be. You know what? Sometimes it's just more important to get a delicious pie than a perfect pie. So here we go. This is my celebration to fall. I'm very excited. So I did put some slits in the top of the pie so that it wouldn't bubble over, so it could all vent. And next I'm also going to brush some soy milk on top. And that did help me kind of like crease or soften out some of those creases. Didn't do much, but it helped a little bit. And then we're also going to put some coarse sugar right on top. And I think this just makes the dough so delectable. Oh, it's just so good. So here we go. Just going to put a nice sprinkling of that sugar on, and then we're going to cook this in the oven. And like I said, we did preheat our oven to 425 degrees. And we are going to cook it for about 40 minutes, okay? Or bake it. Bake, cook, whatever. So come on, little pie. To the oven we go. All right. See you later. Cook well. All right. set this timer so we don't forget about it, but it will start smelling really good. There's no way you could forget about it. It's gonna smell amazing. So here we go. That is it, all done in all its glory. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention is you could flute the edges of the pie. I personally don't know how to do that, so I didn't. But eventually I will teach myself how to flute it, and then I'll teach you guys. So there's my very rustic looking pie. And can you believe that this one looks better than the first one? The first one was a fail, but I think that's why the second one looks so good and tasted so good too. So now we get to slice into it. I do recommend waiting 10 minutes before you slice into your pie, okay? Let it cool. Give it that time to cool. That might be the hardest thing about baked goods. Right when it comes out of the oven, you are so ready to just devour it, but you usually have to give it like a good 10 minutes to cool down, which takes a lot of patience and fortitude, so more power to you if you're able to wait. So here we go. Now we are gonna take out our slice. And it was so good, you guys. Like, the dough was flaky. It was flavorful. The filling was so scrumptious, and it just kept getting better in the fridge over time. I think Guy and we finished this in about 3 days. So good. So good. And yeah, I am excited to make berry pies and a nice pumpkin pie this holiday season. I can't wait. But this is it, you guys. That is how you make a vegan pie. Ain't no reason you can't have a pie this holiday season. Here is how you do it, my fellow vegans. So delicious. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. And I hope that you make this pie. If you do, please let me know what you think about it. And also, I'm curious about what your favorite pie is. Apple is actually not my favorite pie. My favorite pie is peach. I am a peach pie person. I love it so much. So I want to know what you guys like too. Let me know what your favorite pie is. What kind of pies will you be serving this holiday season as well? I'd love to hear about it. Please let me know. All right, you guys, I'm going to leave you here looking at this delicious pie. And I wish you well. I wish you well. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll be seeing you guys later on this week. Later on, we're going to be making a barbecue jackfruit sandwich. So stay tuned for that, guys. All right. See you later. Bye.